Hello. Greetings to everybody. I hope you're all having a good time and cheerful and playful and not taking things too seriously. A very wise man once said to me when I was a really kind of hippie in need of soothing words. I saw this fellow on the beach one day, and he's a big rotund guy, and he was in about ankle deep water, and there was a little girl standing near him, and he patted her on the head, and he looked at her very sweetly. He was about 60 and probably his grandchild or something. And the beach was very crowded and the water was full of people. And somehow he caught my eye. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should spill my heart out to this guy, this stranger that I had never met. So I walked up to him and I said hello, and I just started talking. I talked for about 5 minutes straight. He didn't say a word. And when I was done talking, he looked at me and he said, "Everything matters, but nothing matters frightfully." And those words have been with me since I was 18 years old. And when I fall on hard times, emotional times and whatnot, I always think of those words and what he said. And as I talked to him further, I found out that indeed my intuition was right. He was a boyhood friend of Hermann Hesse, the Nobel Prize winning writer who wrote Siddhartha, Magister Lugdi, The Bead Game, and Damien, and other books, a lot dealing with psychology, human psychology. So everything does matter, but nothing matters frightfully. So often we tend to take ourselves too seriously and take things too seriously. So a lighthearted attitude is very, very, very helpful. Because when we're not lighthearted, we're not clear thinking. So we should always try and maintain a malleability of mind and flexibility of body as well. So that's where yoga comes in, because the physical is connected to the mental connected to the physical. When we feel stressed mind, anxiety, tension, fear, anger, we see our body tense up and we feel rigid. So how we think affects our body as well. So of the many approaches to becoming peaceful, at peace with ourselves, there's meditation and yoga, of course. Today I will talk a little bit about meditation and breath mastery. And specifically I will talk about a kind of mantra recitation that's and connected with breath mastery. And it is called the Vase breath. Now actually I was studying the Kalachakra Tantra just recently. And that's a very advanced form of meditation with various forms of meditation within its own meditation. And I was reading a section on the Vase breath, which has to do with the mantra and uniting the mantra with the breath. And I thought to myself, wow, I discovered this about 10 years ago on my own, through my own intuition. I've been meditating about 40 years now, more than that. Actually, yeah, about 50 years, 53 or 4 to be exact. So about a decade ago, while I was doing my mantra recitation, I started imagining the mantra as a fountain springing up through in my heart. A fountain with the mantra syllables resting on the fountain and dissolving into the fountain. And I began to make this a regular practice, feeling my mantra syllables being supported by this fountain. And the fountain was my breath. And the mantra would dissolve into the breath. And the breath would dissolve into the mantra. And gradually I was able to unite the two so that I could sort of stop my breath through dissolving the breath and the mantra together. This began a whole new way of practice for me. From this point on, I was always making the discipline about the breath and the mantra equally, whereas previously I just concentrated on mantra recitation. And this marked a big change in my practice, and I advanced forward. And I'll talk a little bit about this today because it can help anyone, and it's a common form of, like I say, meditation in Vajrayana Buddhism, Tantra, and Mahamudra, Mahayana practice. Whether we're familiar with mantra recitation or not, we can always make a beginning, because what I'm talking about is very simple. It only has 2 elements to it: breath and mantra. And uniting these 2 awarenesses. So we would begin by reciting mantras with awareness. And if we haven't recited mantras before, we can begin. Om Mani Padme Hum. 5 minutes a day. Until we feel some kind of gears meshing within us, where we start being engaged in the practice. We're actually delighting in the practice. We look forward to it. And this is accomplished for a beginner by being on time every day with the practice. It can be a very humble beginning, 5 or 10 minutes a day, but the same time every day and for the same amount of time every day, until we feel ourselves actually looking forward to practicing. That is a sign that we're getting somewhere. And for a seasoned practitioner, you already know all of this. You probably already are engaged and look forward to your practice. If you haven't if you haven't united or considered uniting the breath and the mantra, and you've been reciting mantras by themselves, it's something to be considered. And as I just mentioned, that it is in accord with the teachings, the Buddhist teachings on correct meditation practice and effective meditation practice. Efficacious. So let's assume that we're in the middle somewhere. We've recited some mantras and probably practiced a little bit of mindfulness of breathing too. Assuming this much, let's look into how to bring the two disciplines together. It's not easy, and it will take some work. But if we are patient, our ambitions will be realized. In the beginning, if we're a practitioner of mantra recitation already, we would begin by having 90% of our attention on the mantra and 10% on the breath. Maybe going back and forth between the two awarenesses. And as we progress, we would diminish the amount of awareness on the mantra and increase the amount of awareness on the breath, until eventually we become 50-50, half of, equal parts. Awareness of the breath and awareness of the mantra are balanced. And when it's balanced, completely balanced, we can enter what is called a state of ecstatic equilibrium. That's the name for samadhi, equilibrium. The scales are like this and we're like this, and it becomes balanced. And the duality we normally feel between subject and object, the focus of our attention and the object of focus are two, but then they become one. If we're already a practitioner of breath awareness, mindfulness of breathing, we would have our awareness 90% on that and 10% on the mantra at the beginning, and bring it to 50-50, equalize them. And when we equalize them, it may seem like we are going like shifting. Awareness on mantra, 2 seconds. Awareness on breath, 2 seconds. Awareness on mantra, 2 seconds. Awareness on breath, 2 seconds. It's not quite like that. When they're equalized, the two sides are 50-50, they dissolve into each other. They completely dissolve. The breath dissolves into the mantra, and the mantra dissolves into the breath. And this is what produces an illumination of mind. A sense of non-duality, which is what meditation is all about. Normally we're in afflictive states. Even if we're not afflicted and we feel very peaceful, there's always a duality, like I'm happy, I feel so good today. So there's this self that's feeling good, an awareness of feeling good. And this is actually duality. Worse than that is the kind of duality where you're miserable, or you're irritable, or you're angry. I'm so angry. I'm so scattered today. I'm so miserable, sad, and so forth. There's a sense of a person who's sad. Richard's sad, Richard's happy, and so forth. And the sadness that's experienced as two. This is just dualistic awareness. And what we're talking about is a way to dissolve that dualistic awareness and do it consciously to the two disciplines of breath and mantra, and uniting the two into one practice. Both together, interwoven together, is much more effective than either one in isolation. So it's sort of like a marriage where a couple get together, they're compatible, they love each other, they feel compassion for each other, sympathy for each other, and they rejoice in each other's achievements. And together, they are stronger than individually. And mantra recitation and breath recitation, if we do them separately, fantastic. They should be done separately. But better is, once one's familiar with doing them separately, is to learn how to unite the two practices together, because this is what really works best. And this is what's called vase breath in Tibetan Buddhism and Tantra and Vajrayana and Mahamudra and some other disciplines as well. It's a common exercise in Mahayana Buddhism, even for those who are practicing other practices, different practices like Kala Chakra, the Kala Chakra Tantra, the Guhya Samaj, Chakra Sambhava, all of these kind of Mahamudra, different kinds of meditative disciplines, usually will at some point want to integrate vase breath because it helps support other practices. It's a vital part of other practices. Just like the herb ashwagandha is a herb that's used in many, many concoctions. Ayurvedic concoctions and Tibetan medicine concoctions and Chinese medicine concoction. Ashwagandha, by the way, is winter cherry. It's one of these herbs that enhance the benefits of almost any remedy. Not very many herbs like that. They're staple herbs. And ashwagandha is one of them. And vase breath is one of the kinds of meditative disciplines that really will benefit whatever practice we're into. So to recap, what we're doing really is bringing together two disciplines, breath and mantra, marrying them together to work as a couple, work together for a single aim, which is meditative stabilization, insight, vipassana, wisdom, prajna, whatever you want to call it, illumination of mind and abandoning ignorance, knowing who we are, why we are here, and becoming a better person, a better human being, a kinder human being, a happier human being, a friendlier human being, a less pretentious human being, an open human being, a loving person, and not being contrived in all of this. In other words, putting on a face that's not real. And the way we do this is building us up ourselves from the inside, not putting on a mask, but making ourselves as genuine can be. Building all good qualities from within. And if we work at this, our lives will be better, and we will find ourselves with many friends and kind faces looking at us. We'll see less the faults of others and more the qualities. Will Rogers famously once said, "I have never met a person I didn't like." And this is quite phenomenal. And if we can do that, that's a big step towards being a better human being. And meditation, as I'm speaking of here, is a shortcut. Will Rogers, he found acting a shortcut, but not many of us would be able to do that. But through meditation, it's pretty much guaranteed. We just do our part, and we'll be successful. So I'll close on that note. I love you. It was fun doing this presentation. Gives me practice, a way to clarify my own thoughts and share them with others. Bye-bye.